Since 2003, this is The Sports Source. With your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios and the Sports Source. 2 weeks ago, Tennessee needed help just to get back in the playoff. Now they've gotten so much help, they're kind of on the verge of a home playoff game. We've got 14 different professional projections for you that we'll show you, and it's kind of interesting what everybody's saying. Home, road, we'll show you. We'll let you talk about that. Tennessee goes to Vanderbilt, gets the win, takes care of business. It didn't look good early in that first quarter. Trust me, my phone was filled with VFL's upset. But the last three quarters went the Vols' way. We'll talk about that game quite a bit as well. We got a lot to cover today. Let's get right into it. This first segment of our show brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. Many is the time that I have told you that getting a local attorney is wildly important. You want someone who knows the other attorneys and judges in the local legal system. But there is one thing more important than finding a local attorney. That's finding an attorney with a really good track record. Now, the good thing is you can find both, good track record and a local attorney, when you look at GarzaLaw.com. Marcos Garza and his team based right here. And boy, just years and years and years of proven success for their clients. GarzaLaw.com, the Garza Law Firm. We appreciate them being a part of the Sports Source family. All right. Let's welcome in the first members of the Sports Source family over here. Jimmy Himes right there. VFL Mike Stoll right here, one of the angry texters. Right here we have VFL Will Overstreet, and right there we got Bob Hodge. Thanks to all of you for being here today. Most of us said that Tennessee couldn't afford to start slow against Vandy the way they did against UTEP. Well, they didn't start slow. They went down fast. They were down 14-0 5 minutes into that game thanks to a kickoff return and a fumble. Dylan Sampson with, I think, his fourth first quarter fumble of the season. So you're down 14-0. It didn't look good. But kind of like Georgia the night before, you turned it around. Thankfully, you didn't need 14 overtimes to get it done. But Tennessee handles Vanderbilt 36-23 yesterday. This segment's top takeaways. Will Overstreet, I start with you. Top takeaway from the Vols comeback win.
How resilient and highly confident this team is at this point in the season. I mean, when you go down 14-0 with everything on the line, I just think you saw it across a lot of other teams. There are a lot of teams that folded, a lot of teams that couldn't come back, that couldn't feel. This team has been such a slow starter and has so much confidence, I believe, in their defense or something. Because if you take that first quarter out, from then on, this game was a total rout. This game was a total blowout. Physically, from top to start to finish, Tennessee beat Vanderbilt every way possible. Take the first quarter out. It's just like that team at times just needs that kickstart, but they take a shot in the mouth and they go, okay, it's a fight, and then they get into the fight. So I just took away is I think this team has a lot of confidence to be able to handle that down 14-0 and then just come back and pile it on and turn it into really not as close a game as the score looked.
Tennessee has had a lot of really good showings against Vanderbilt over the past 100 years almost. But this one actually means something because it wasn't the typical Vanderbilt team, getting down 14-0 and the resilience. But I think you come away from this game, I think this was Tennessee's best performance of the season. I mean, it's Vanderbilt, and when you say it, people laugh. A quality opponent.
Beat Alabama.
You're at their place, and you did what you did both offensively and defensively. And so this is a Vanderbilt performance unlike, say, 2 years ago. Hooker gets hurt. Yeah. They go there and it's, oh, man, look how great we played. That was a terrible team. Yeah. This wasn't. So I think this win means something beyond all the connotations you have that come after it.
Yeah, I think it discredits what Tennessee did if you look at it and say, well, it's the same old Vanderbilt. In the second half, you kind of made it look like the same old Vanderbilt for a time. But Diego Pavia, who you pretty much shut down through the air, he had terrorized a lot of teams in this league. There's talk of him as possible SEC Offensive Player of the Year for most of this season. So to go in there and do what you did to him, don't discredit that by saying, well, I knew they'd blow out Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's nothing. This isn't your granddaddy's Vanderbilt team. Thoughts? Top takeaways?
Yeah, I think, the night before with Georgia Tech, rivalry week is always difficult, and you know what Vanderbilt brings. I agree with the resiliency that they showed. I also think the way that other players stepped up, right? You had Nico play his best game of the SEC. You had receivers go down, and you had Brazel. Kitzelman continue to roll. Dante Thornton finally broke away. I think you saw an offense find solutions against a good defense in Vanderbilt where they were actually able to, other players step up and produce points and not have to rely on a Dylan Sampson.
We'd been waiting on it all year, calling for it all year, begging for it all year. You finally saw a shortish pass that your receiver took 50 yards for the last 50 of the 86 or the last 60 of the 86. You finally saw one of the receivers get some yak yardage and help the quarterback a little bit with the Dante Thornton nice play.
Yeah.
Jimmy, top takeaway.
Several things, and I agree with Will's point about you got hit in the mouth and then you came back. Alabama didn't, right? They couldn't get over it. But here's the biggest thing that I saw. This is a team that wins in a variety of ways, and even within that game. So after Vanderbilt took the big lead, Tennessee outscored them 36-3 until they got in the fourth quarter. In the first half, they scored with an up-tempo offense. In the second half, what did they do? They milked the clock. Mm-hmm. If you look at time of possession in the second half, it's ridiculous. Tennessee ran 41 plays, Vanderbilt ran 10 in the second half. And Tennessee ran out the last 6 minutes of the game. That's a little bit of a different style from Josh Heupel. You've won with defense, you've won with up-tempo, you've won with slowing it down. This team has found ways to win in a different ways, and that's one of the things I like about this team.
It's funny. It started early on when they went to Oklahoma, and we saw them, take the foot off the gas, pull it in a little bit, be safe, hold on for the win. It's like, okay, let's give them credit for winning a new way. Then it became, he wasn't winning a new way. It's just this offense can't do much. It's wildly inconsistent. Now I think toward the end of the season you're saying, no, you're back to being able to win in multiple. I think you're correct. I think it is winning in a variety of ways. Yesterday, 538 yards of total offense. That's the best against any SEC foe this year for Tennessee. Wow. So the offense, we'll get to that in our confidence level in the offense later. The offense is on the upswing, it would appear. I mean, they're still inconsistent. There's no question. But it does seem that Nico is getting a little bit more comfortable. It does seem that the offense in general is taking a step forward.
Look at the balance. 281 rushing, 257 passing. That's pretty darn good.
And it seems like you've improved. Your offensive line has gotten better. You've got pretty good tight ends, which coming into the season, that was a question mark. Mm-hmm. I think everywhere but your wide receivers, if you go back, you can say, okay, this has gotten better as the season has got on. Now, it hasn't been a straightforward curve. I mean, it's gone like this.
And it's different groups taking the step forward in different games.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what made this game seem like the most complete game.
Yeah, but then seeing those big plays and seeing not only that, but it was a different set of guys. Thornton has had some big plays, but you had some other guys get some big plays as well.
Mike Matthews, suddenly we've been talking about all year.
Comes in the game and he plays, and you're like, okay, there's a mixture here. There's different guys. Just like we've seen on the defensive line and defense all year, you could rotate in whoever, and all of a sudden new number shows up, makes a big play. You kind of started having that on offense, and that was what was encouraging about this game, is to see the different mixture of numbers make plays, and you go, oh, okay, well, that's something now that if I'm watching tape as a defense coordinator going against you, I go, okay, well, it's not just these three guys that I have to worry about. Maybe this guy's starting to show something that puts something on tape.
I'll be curious to see, and I think that's a great point, the depth. You've got 3 weeks to get healthy, but now all of a sudden you start getting players back that are making plays, or you have multiple options. I think you're right. You have a lot more to think about as a defensive coordinator going against the offense. And then again, I think our defensive depth is going to be huge as you move on.
And the one other thing I think it adds into it is teams have not been playing this like they used to. Like everybody used to go for it on fourth down because they're like, we're going to be in a track race.
Yeah.
Right.
Now they have to wonder, are we going to be in a track race or are we not going to be in a track race? Does this team get hot? So that causes you to make some different decisions early in the game that may make you make a bad decision.
I think the key over the next 3 weeks, obviously, what is the health of Dylan Sampson and his hamstring? I don't think anybody likes seeing him grab the hammy or limp off after the game. Brew McCoy didn't play. Dante Thornton left the game. All right, Spraggins limped off. I'm not sure of his situation.
Squirrel White.
Squirrel White. That's right. He was hurt late on the. Yep. So you've got some offensive pieces with the main guy, Dylan Sampson. You got to get that healthy by December 20th, December 21st, when Tennessee will be playing in their first playoff game, which is a heck of an accomplishment. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Sports Source. The best player on the field, the worst decision, the biggest disappointment. We'll cover all that. Then we'll show you 14 playoff projections and where the experts have Tennessee. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Winter temperatures have arrived, folks. So if you're having to launch a do-it-yourself project, be sure you're using the right building materials. You need winter materials to do winter work. Visit the crew at A.G. Hines Company in downtown Knoxville or their location in Bluntville. That's right, for those folks watching us online in Upper East Tennessee, there's an A.G. Hines Company right up there as well. Get all the answers and the materials you need for a winter do-it-yourself project, aghines.com. All right, let's welcome in the three next members of our family. Right down here, we got Josh Ward, we got Chuck Cavaleris, and we got VFL Sterling Hinton, always looking dapper.
Oh, man. I'm trying to get up your level, John. I'm trying to get there, baby.
You look better than me. All right, let's take a look at the poll question today, brought to you by Hearthside Bank. At 10-2 and in the playoff, this Vols season, either A, is already a great one, or B, should have been better. So, we'll see how many negative Nellies are out there. We're not giving you notice. It's a binary choice. There is no,
either
it's
or.
a good season. No, it is already great, or should have been better. Shouldn't have lost to Arkansas. Lost to Georgia again. You tell us. Get online with your phone, your gizmo there. Get your smartphone. Hit the QR code and play along with us. Tell us whether this is a great season or should have been better. And we're going to follow that over the next few segments, so play along with us. All right. All year we've been saying the best player is Dylan Sampson. The best player on the field was Dylan Sampson. The best player in that game was Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson he rushed for a career high 178 yards yesterday. He set the single-season rushing record for the University of Tennessee, which is a school with a whole heck of a lot of great backs.
Oh, man.
But I'm still not sure he was the best player on the field yesterday. Sterling, you make the call. Who was the best player for Tennessee yesterday?
Yesterday was, without doubt, to me, Nico. Dylan was still there, superlative fuel into the offense. He was that superlative gas, but Nico performed at a level that it showed a lot of promise, man, a lot of promise. And he threw some dimes. And I'm glad the young receiving corps came through for him. Shout to Coach Pope and shout to Coach Sims, the running backs coach. He had to manage all these guys and manage Dylan to attain such a level he's had this year. So I think we give them guys a little love also.
So a quarterback pits a quarterback, right?
Hey, why not?
Well, you guys can jump in too. I was just going to say about Nico, it seemed to me that he got more confident as that game went on. It was almost like maybe it was the deep ball to Thornton, but after that, it was like he was extremely decisive, and I'm taking off and running.
Yeah.
I'm going here, It was not – there was no hesitation, it seemed. And after the interception, which was a poorly thrown ball, that was a touchdown. After that, you're sitting there wondering, okay, how's he going to bounce back from that? And he bounced back, and I just thought he looked like he was getting more confident as that game went on. Did you guys see the same thing?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And he was able to look defensive backs off, right? Yeah. He was doing a lot of things, but I think it was still Dylan Sampson.
You think he was the best player?
I do too. I mean, a career high. We pick him all season long, and he has a career high in rushing. One stat: he only lost 1 yard. All those games, he's making yards. He's doing tackling. He overcomes losing the fumble when they ripped it out. I think it was Dylan Sampson again.
Okay, so we got a Nico. We got a Sampson. Where are you going?
I would choose Nico with what he did over the course of the game. For all the reasons you laid out, I would nominate Dante Thornton, who only got a half because of injury, but I would factor that in. He's not been 100% for a while, probably. Yeah, and he made game-changing plays. I think the stat is right that it's the longest touchdown reception since Mark Jones in 2003, going 86 yards. So he's been their best big play threat as a receiver, and he was again on Saturday when they really needed it to get going in the first half. So I would choose him or Jamad McCoy as nominees.
It was a heck of an interception.
Oh, man.
Concentrated and had it fall into his gut there on the ground.
And another one in the end zone. It's like
and Vandy needed a score there. They didn't score for a while after that as they're trying to keep Tennessee from regaining momentum. And McCoy steps up and makes a big play.
That's a very good point. Worst decision yesterday.
I texted you this. Can I go?
Sure.
I thought Vanderbilt made a huge error the way they were playing their safeties. Tennessee, one thing Nico did, if you watched, was a couple of the play fakes, the running plays, more than a couple. What did that open up? The whole center of the field. Clark Lee's a really good defensive coach, but that made it really easy to me. I thought it was a huge mistake to have those safeties really coming up hard, and they didn't even factor into play. I mean, in terms of stopping the play.
Okay.
Well, I disagree with Chuck totally on that call.
This is good.
Because,
this is good.
When you got Dylan Sampson, who was your super unleaded gas in that offense, and that guy's getting the ball, he's making a difference every time he gets it. You just said he doesn't have any negative rushes. So you got to have somebody fill that hole every time you hand that ball to him or fake it, you hand it to him. So the safety is definitely concerned about coming up and making a play. And fortunately, we had play action in our offense, and it worked.
Right.
I can't say it's a bad decision, just a matter of matriculating a great offensive play.
See, you asked for it when you went against Sterling.
I sure did.
You asked for it. All right, worst decision, Josh?
So I'll preface this with Josh Heupel knows more than Josh Ward about offensive play calling. But what I would like to see is more when they go jumbo set, get Dylan in the game, give it to Dylan behind the big guys. Kitzelman gets stopped earlier in the game. I know they scored against Georgia.
And your offensive line got blown up on that one too. But
I think they're really effective when they go jumbo and they hand it to Dylan, who's the best running back in the SEC. So I would do that in those short yardage situations.
My worst decision is I was watching the game yesterday and I was like, feed Sampson, get him this record, feed Sampson. When he gets the record, take him out. Take him out. I wouldn't have kept feeding him until he, now you can't project an injury. He could have gotten hurt earlier when I was saying feed him. But I think once he got the record.
Once he was full?
Right. Yeah, I think I would have. Yeah, once you'd fed him to the point of bursting, then I would have taken him out. You did have some guys in there late that were going at it. And it wasn't just your standard handoff. So that would have been my decision. Do you have a worse decision?
A worse decision, my worst decision, in my opinion, I would have taken Nico out. Okay. I would have taken Nico out. Now, I get that's a bad decision. I just would have taken him out just to preserve my starting guy. But what I'm also proud of a guy named Bishop. Think about it. He was third team last year, week coming off injury. Right. And he gave us some quality time in that game, some quality runs. He's toting that Tatum when he gets in there.
Well, when you lost Bishop, Peyton Lewis came in. When Lewis is out, Bishop came in. I think both those guys showed you a lot of promise.
Again, Coach Sims.
Okay, and then the last thing, biggest disappointment, this one to me is pretty easy.
Easy. How about kickoff coverage to start the game?
Well, kick coverage, period. They had a couple of other
another one on the holding call, or it could have.
That's right. They had 4 kick returns for 164 yards. That's a 100-yard on one, but you had a flag that brought back another long one. So the kick coverage has been pretty good this year. I was surprised. I was wondering what. Did Vanderbilt see anything there? It was the first one. You just had a guy get out of his lane. But at any rate, kick coverage to me was the biggest disappointment. Agreed? Or
yeah, coverage and early return. I was confused when Tennessee turned around and returned, and they don't return it a lot. Period. Yeah. It was a questionable spot to return it to set Tennessee back up.
Yeah,
deep
got
in
to their own 15 or
before
something.
Dylan's fumble.
Yeah. The other thing that has been a disappointment for me, for the last month, if you watch any game. You have to listen for the bits and pieces about the game in between 3 hours of playoff projections. That's all it is. It's like, well, now, if they get out, then Texas A&M could get in. Oh, look, a touchdown. Now, back to this playoff thing. It's like we're watching a game. So people always said, oh, it's not going to mess up the sport. Kind of messed up that for me. I'd rather just watch the game and do that
stuff at halftime. Georgia Tech overtime before every 2-point conversion attempt for Georgia, we were reminded of their playoff hopes.
Yes.
We know about the playoff.
Yeah, Joe Tessitore, he knows how to beat something into the ground. And as someone who does that himself, I respect when Joe Tessitore does it. All right, when we come back, let's get to the playoff projections. Home game for Tennessee, road game for Tennessee. We'll see what 14 ESPN writers say on the next side of this break. Come on back. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by the River Cove Campground. Plenty of you out there enjoy cold weather, winter camping. And there is something about standing out in the middle of Mother Nature. Bob Hodge, you're somebody that goes hunting and that kind of stuff. There are people that love to camp in it. The perfect spot to camp? Well, it's right on the Little Pigeon River. Fire pits, grills, bathhouse. They've got a store there. Visit rivercovecampground.com. Uncle Jim's River Cove Campground, I might add. rivercovecampground.com to learn more about all their amenities. Get down there and check them out. If you are a camping person, you will love The River Cove Campground. Okay. Let's take a look at what the ranked teams did yesterday very quickly. You see Tennessee in orange, of course, but ahead of them, the two red scores there, Ohio State, the number 2 team in the country, they lost to unranked Michigan, and then number 6 Miami lost to Syracuse. So you would think, all right, well, that's going to move Tennessee up a couple of slots. Well, the question is, does Ohio State, typically, recently, if you've lost, you fall to the back half of the 12. So you would think Ohio State would drop past Tennessee. At the same time, you can look at the two resumes, as we will, and decide, well, maybe Ohio State's resume is better than Tennessee, so they'll be ahead of them. At any rate, it's kind of a split decision here. Let's take a look. People keep asking me about the playoff, how it works, when do we play, all that kind of stuff. Let's just quickly run through this for those people who don't know it. Tennessee is pretty much in the playoff at this point. So first round games are played Friday, December 20th, and then there are 3 on Saturday, December 21st. You see the television, 2 of them are going to be here on WATE. Those are all on-campus games, all right? If you make the second round, those are played on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Those are all on ESPN, and they will be played in the location of the Fiesta, Peach, Rose, and Sugar, and those are the bye teams waiting on you. And the bye teams, the top 4 seeds, they'll pick a bowl game closest to them, which makes it interesting. If Penn State beats Oregon and gets a bye, which bowl is close to Penn State? I mean, it's possible. This is how the system works. Penn State could say, well, we're closer to Atlanta. And if you're playing Tennessee, I think Tennessee fans would love that. You'd be the home team, basically. All right, then the semifinals are in the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl, played on 2 different days. All right, we zip forward there. These are the brackets from the 14 different ESPN writers. 7 have Ohio State dropping behind Tennessee, which gives Tennessee a home game. 7 have Ohio State in front of Tennessee, which puts Tennessee on the road. The majority of these plans, all right, here, I'll just step through them. One person says Tennessee will be the 10 seed playing at Indiana with Texas waiting. Another person says Tennessee will be the 10 seed at Georgia with Texas, again, waiting for you. Now, the other bracket is Tennessee at Georgia. One person says Tennessee at Georgia with Oregon waiting. 4 different writers say Tennessee at Ohio State with Oregon waiting on you. So 4 different brackets have Tennessee at Ohio State in the 9-8 game. Now you look at the 7 brackets that have Tennessee at home. One of them has Penn State at Tennessee. One of them has Indiana. 2 of them have Indiana at Tennessee. I'm sorry, that should have been combined. So 1 at Penn State, 1 Penn State at Tennessee, 2 Indiana at Tennessee. 4 writers say Ohio State at Tennessee. So out of 14 brackets, 8 of them say Ohio State, Tennessee, either in Knoxville or in Columbus. And then the last thing, this thing isn't settled yet because there's still conference championship games to be played. The AAC, you see their rankings from this past week. Tulane lost to Memphis. They're probably not going to be ranked, so I don't think the AAC will have anything to do with the bracket. If Tulane is somehow still ranked and they win that game, if other things spun around, they could get in as the 5th highest rated team. I don't see that happening, but still, it's on there for a reason. Big 12 champ, Mountain West champ. I mean, UNLV could beat Boise State and get in there and steal somebody's bid. ACC is SMU Clemson. I think Clemson's only way in at this point is probably winning that thing. Big 10 is now Oregon and Penn State since Ohio State choked against Michigan yesterday. And then the SEC is Texas, Georgia in a rematch. And for all of us who said last week, Georgia's clearly better than Texas and anybody else in the league. All right, fast forward a week and I no longer think that. So we now, guys, thoughts on what you just saw in terms of home game, road game. What do you think Tennessee gets? Who do you think deserves that home game, Tennessee or Ohio State? Just reactions to those 14 different bracket projections.
You know, I just think the Big Ten seems to be a little, in my opinion, a little overrated. I don't think Ohio State will fall as far as they should, and I think that's probably your most likely scenario is Tennessee will go to Ohio State.
It'd be interesting if Greg Sankey were the commissioner of this group, or I'm sorry, the chairman of this group instead of the Big Ten guy. I will be curious to see. I think there's a chance Ohio State could fall behind Tennessee. I don't know. But is the Big Ten going to do anything to Ohio State for the fight afterward?
Yeah, how many guys might be suspended?
And if they do, like they did with Florida State last year,
then you're
going to drop Ohio State below Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Which opens the door for Tennessee to be a host. I really don't know what's going to happen with the thing. It's been so hard to predict. But I do think ultimately Tennessee's going to end up playing Ohio State. It's just a matter of where. But that's just a guess on my part.
Yes, to me, it's how far does Miami fall? They were number 3.
I think they're out.
They may be
guess,
out.
yeah.
How far does Ohio State fall? Typically, I think it's been at least 4 or 5 spots, maybe more. And like you're saying, Jimmy, I wondered about the post-game situation. I think right now Tennessee is still like 50-50 whether it's going to be home or away. I think there's still some games to be played before we know.
It makes sense that there's so much back and forth Tennessee and Ohio State. So that to me is the best question, which one gets to host, because they're likely one and then the other. How does the committee discuss the way Ohio State played in that loss? Because they could have scored 21 more points and won the game by a large margin, but they didn't. And then they looked the way they do after the game on the field. Does the committee factor that in? Does this team needs a punishment for how they handled everything?
Let's do a blind resume challenge. Let's put up a graphic here, and everybody has one of these. We've all got our sheets here. Do we have the there we go. All right, Team A, Team B, Team C, Team D, Team E, Team F. I'm going to see if you guys pick it just like the committee, which seems to just go by the record, or we've complained about it. So now you can put your money where your mouth is. Are you going by strength of schedule? You have 2 11-1 teams. You have 2 10-2 teams. You have 2 9-3 teams. All right? Don't sit here and try and figure out, well, that's going to be so and so. Just play by the numbers. Be fair. It shows you their overall record. It shows you their wins versus last week's top 25, the losses they had by last week's top 25 teams, losses outside the top 25, in other words, bad losses, and then foes with winning records overall, which is a good strength of schedule gauge down there at the bottom. Teams are all over the place. Let's say 4 of these teams get in. All right? Do you just take the 11-1s and 10s and 2s, or does a 9-3 beat one of those other teams? Based on, the 9-3 teams have more wins versus top 25 teams than any of the double-digit winners. They played better schedules. So do you factor that in or not? Bob Hodge, who gets in?
I'm going to go with I think 1-loss teams are automatic.
Okay, A and B are in.
I think foes with winning records gets in Team C. And then it would almost be a coin flip between Team E and Team F, because there is something to be said with playing a better schedule. It has to come into play.
But so far it's been the eye test.
Well, that's why I'm asking you.
Right.
What do you do? I'm not asking what they're doing. I'm asking what would you do?
I think just like Bob says, I'm going to go with the 1-loss teams.
Okay.
And then if you're like 2 losses, I think the 9-3 teams have really got to have done something special, and maybe even more special than it looks here. I think, how do you tell a team's 10-2 you're not getting in that has got 3 foes with winning records and 6 foes with winning records?
So you're going A, B, C, D.
I sure am.
Well, one of them's got 3 winning records. 3 winning records.
Yeah, 6 and 3, yeah.
A, B, C, D for Chuck, A, B, C for Bob, and then question mark. Jimmy?
A, B, C, E.
A, B, C, E. Josh?
See, I would lean E.
Okay, Bob leans E.
Really think about it.
So first I'd go
Whispering
Team
to
B.
Jimmy. We're on TV. You can talk.
Go
ahead, Josh.
I'd go Team B, then Team C.
Okay.
Team A, where's your quality here?
Yep.
So 11-1, but part of the problem, I think I know who that is. So I would go then Team F.
Okay, BCF. D or E?
D.
D. Okay. So let's go ahead and review. Let's flip to the next graphic. So only Chuck and Josh have Tennessee in the field.
Boy, it's good.
All right, people aren't mad at me, so that's good.
Team D is Tennessee. If we're going by schedule, Team D is Tennessee. So that would be, let's see, A, B, and C would be Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State automatically in. And then we had a couple of E's, which is South Carolina would be in. And then Josh had Alabama in. So, and Chuck would have done that too, but he figured out who Tennessee was and doctored it. Okay, the one thing I told him not to do.
Well, I figured out who Tennessee was too.
And doctored it the other way because you're negative.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's one last thing. Here's one last thing. It shows to me how important the conference championship games are going to be, and who can win those, and who plays well even if they lose, because you got to have something else to stack up with some of these teams.
Well, I just look at Team E, and I mean, you had
Carolina.
You played 5 top 25 teams. Yeah. You had a winning record. You had 6 teams on your schedule with winning records, and you were 9-3. At some point in time, it has to mean something.
Tennessee's strength of schedule is closer to Indiana than anybody else on here.
Yes.
And everybody's made fun of Indiana all year. But go ahead, Jimmy. What were you going to say?
The thing that this doesn't show is head-to-head.
Right. That's right. It doesn't show head-to-head.
Yeah, Bama, South Carolina is an interesting conversation.
Yes.
It's close in Tuscaloosa.
Well, Ole Miss and South Carolina is going to be an interesting set.
Very good. When we come back, is our confidence in the offense improving? As our VFLs have their own show over there. Is our confidence in the offense improving? Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back in. I was trying to run through this. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Year-round, just the best pest control company in East Tennessee. The Haynes family have been doing it since 1971, and let me tell you, they believe in treating their customers right. They will take great care of you. They take great care of me and my home. Let them do it for you and your home or your business. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, they cover all of East Tennessee. Give them a shout this week or visit southeasttermite.com. All right, let's remind people of the poll question. Let's see what that's doing. Okay, the negative Nellies, there still aren't many of you. That's good. See, I don't think the social media people watch this show because you go on social media and it's just nothing but hate and rage all the time. Heupel'S a Conference USA coach. They shouldn't have lost to Arkansas. Nico's a bust. They don't play our poll. Apparently, they don't like honest talk here. So anyway, keep playing with us. Let us know what you got, what you think, whether you want to go with the guy with the thumbs up or the guy who's kind of. All right. To start this season, I think we all probably, if we're looking at faith in the offense or defense, I think going into the season based on Heupel'S history, we probably all would have been here. We would have marked a big X over here. Yep. By about mid-season, I think we would have been all the way over here, putting an X as far to this side as we could. But I want to ask you, if things changed at all, let me show you some numbers here about the offense and the defense. So let's see, confidence gaining. If we can, there we go. Confidence gaining, question mark. And what you have there, first 4 SEC games, Tennessee averaged 21.5 points per game. Last 4 SEC games, Tennessee's averaged 28.5. So they're up a touchdown over the last 4 SEC games. Okay. First 4 SEC games, Iamaleava's yards per pass attempt, a huge stat in terms of whether or not a team's going to be good, only 6.9. That has jumped more than a yard up to 8.0 in the last 4 games. So the offense, some key numbers going up. Let's take a look at the defense. Let's just play devil's advocate here. If we can take a look at the next graphic. There we go. First 4 SEC games, you allowed 17 points a game. Last 4, you're allowing 21.5. I mean, come on, 21.5? That's terrible. I'm playing devil's advocate here, folks. Give me something. First 4 SEC games, yards per rush. This is real. You have 2.5 yards per rush the first 4 games. It's up to 4 the last couple of games. So my question for you guys, very quickly, Mike Stoll, Will Overstreet, Bob Hodge. Tell me, Mike, I'll start with you. Am I supposed to start with you? We will anyway. All right. You tell me. So we were down here at some point, I'm guessing. You went all the way to defense. Where are you now? Has offense won you back, or are you still, nope, if I've got to put my line somewhere, it's over here. Where are you?
Well, if
tell me, it'd be like a game show. You tell me where to stop.
Right there is where I'd go.
Perfect.
I'd stop the Mountaineer guy climbing right there.
All right. Why? The offense has improved?
So I think the offense has improved. Look, our defense is still really good, right? I think the encouraging thing is our offense has improved, and it's pulled us away from that defense. Because, look, our defense is still really good.
Yep.
Like the last 4 games, I think Mississippi State, Kentucky, we weren't great in, and Georgia was a little offset. But overall, I think we're still playing really good on defense.
Your run defense has taken a little bit of a hit with the loss of Keenan Peely.
I do agree.
And there were stretches yesterday where Vandy was pushing you around on the defensive line early in that game.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's still lean defense. The question is, how much has the offense pulled you away from all defense? Will Overstreet, Mike, I'll have you do the sound effects.
Right there.
Oh, you know, I just
Listen,
went over.
wherever 70-30 is, right? Like that's where
That's more like 73.
Okay, well, there you go.
27.
But yeah, 73-27. But you know, that's kind of the way I think of it. Like, and I especially think of that when I come into playoff time, and I go, where am I putting my chips?
Yeah.
About if Tennessee has to travel, where am I putting my chips? And I'm still saying, hey, listen, we've got championship level defense, going to go face a different competition. If you have to go on the road, I'm putting a lot more of my chips, and we're going to hold this to a low-scoring game, and we're going to figure out a way to get a few on offense. I am not still saying, oh, yeah, like run and gun, we're going to score 50 on somebody, and it's going to be a blowout.
Could be cold weather could affect
I think the offense is still inconsistent. I think it's improved. It's less inconsistent than it was, but I still think it's inconsistent. Bob Hodge and Mike Stoll, I cue you.
Stop. Right there with
Same as Will?
Same as Will.
73%.
And here is the reason. Your offense, I think, had its best game yesterday. But that was one complete game. Out of all your SEC games, you played one complete game on offense. Okay, if it had ended the season with 2 or 3 like that, I'd say, okay, now it's a lot closer together.
UTEP doesn't count?
Gee, let me think. UTEP, Kent State, I think, what was their combined record? Like 1 and 902. But no, I need to see more from the offense before I'm going to go farther in their direction.
I want to tell Jeff, our audio guy, don't bring in the music for this tease. We'll go with game show music. No, I'm not kidding. When we come back, Tennessee reportedly paid $8 million to Nico Iamaleava. Has he been worth it? Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. It's the Christmas season, and I know that all of you out there are doing all you can for those around you. But don't you want to do something for yourself? Come on, it's the spirit of Christmas. Give yourself a gift. And what could be a better gift than every warm weather day next year, you can be on an East Tennessee river or lake. Get yourself a new or pre-owned boat from Madisonville Marine. They've got great end-of-the-year deals going on. Always have great deals going on. Visit them at madmarine.com or get down to Highway 411 North in Madisonville. Tell Joe Special and his team that we said hello, Madisonville Marine. There is no better place to buy a boat. Okay, it was widely speculated and accepted that Nico Iamaleava was paid around $8 million to sign with Tennessee. First year, he didn't play very much, looked good in the Citrus Bowl last year. This year, he looked like a new quarterback. He's grown. He's had his ups, his downs. I think he's had more ups of late than he did. Mm-hmm. You've made the playoff. And let me go ahead and tell you, I'm going to play devil's advocate whichever way you guys go. That's the way the show is played. But we'll have Mike come back and do the yodeling music. But, Jimmy, I'll start with you. Has Nico earned the cash yet?
No, he has not. They're in the playoff. Quarterback gets a lot of credit, a lot of blame. I get all that. Dylan Sampson's a bigger reason they're in the playoffs than Nico is. Defense is a bigger reason they're in the playoff than Nico. So I would say to this point, no. I may change that answer next year, but this year I would say no.
Okay. Josh, Sterling, I heard it.
Well, no, I was just thinking. Well, my thing is this: they gave him that money on the precipice of potential.
Yeah,
I mean that's potential.
All right, but we're saying has he reached it yet?
And that's where I was getting ready to go. Based on yesterday, if that's a new baseline of what his potential could be, he might renegotiate. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there because
he might not.
But what I'm saying is, it's an NIL piece inside the game now. Who's to say who's worth what? You get what you can get when you can get it.
Yep. I'll throw this one out there. Miami's losing Cam Ward. They're going to need a quarterback next year. They got tons of money to throw around. Is there any chance they come and call Nico and say, I got $9 million, and then somebody's running an auction? I got 9. Do I hear 10?
Depends on what his contract says, I guess.
Depends. And how can you never leave? I mean, people transfer in, transfer out. So
is it binding or not?
Exactly. I don't know. Josh Ward, has he earned it yet?
Well, so based on what's been reported of what he's made, he'd be one of the highest paid players in college football, right? Is he, to this point, one of the best players in college football? No. So strictly based on that, the answer would be no. I also know the market for quarterbacks, and if you're a 5-star guy, what it's going to be. So I'll judge him partly on production. Part would be no. I also know that a running back's never going to be the highest paid, realistically, at a big-time school. So I'll say yes, knowing everything else I hear about him, the personality, the humility, knowing he comes in with that price tag and the amount of attention that's on that, and how everything I've heard he's handled it has been great. So I'll say with the team result, his improvement over the course of the season, add it all together, I'll say yes.
And it was a 3-year deal, from what I understand, $8 million for 3 years. So that means you got next year. Wow. Well, again, I don't know how binding that is, but that was what I had always heard.
That's more than $2 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah. It was $8 million, I was told, for 3 years because they didn't expect him to be here more than 3 years.
I thought it was 8 for 4 years and $2 million a year. But what you're saying is
it's more than $2 million. It's 3 years. It's what I was heard.
Okay.
I mean, who knows?
Didn't
Nobody's
know that.
reporting
Okay.
it.
Gotcha.
But that's what I have been told. 8 because they weren't expecting him to be here 4 years.
Wow.
So
does that change your answer now? He's making more than $3 million a year?
no, it doesn't. My answer would be does that change yours? My thing would be it's for 3 years. Let's see. He hasn't earned it yet. Mm-hmm. But next year, if this is the steal Chuck's old line, if this is the baseline quotient, then maybe he earns it next year.
Wow.
So the story isn't completely written. So it's kind of a mean question to throw out here just to get you guys to.
See, I would say
case.
that Hendon Hooker in 2022 would have been worth
Yeah.
$2 million a year based on the season he had. Nico hasn't had nearly that good of a season.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker was carrying that team. He had to be a bigger part of getting them there, whereas Nico has been more of a sidecar this year. Mm-hmm. He hasn't screwed it up, so he has gotten you to the playoff, but it hasn't been strictly him. Now, you could turn that around and say, what if he'd gotten hurt and you had to go to Gaston Moore or Jake Merklinger? Now
there's in two.
So does that add to the value? But anyway, I don't think he's got it yet, hadn't earned it yet, but still possible moving forward.
Exactly. Based on his development, what he showed yesterday, could be interesting.
All right, when we come back, what grade do we give Josh Heupel and the coaching staff for the 2024 regular season? Not the career so far, not these 4 years at Tennessee, which would be a really good grade, just for this season. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. Winter weather is on the way, folks. Lots of rain, lots of wind, snow thrown in there probably. Make sure your roof is ready for it. Have Daniel and his team come out and do a free inspection for you. And the key thing about that free inspection, there's no obligation. You don't have to buy anything. They go up there with their tools and they will show you their video of here's an issue, or they'll say this is not an issue. They may tell you don't need a new roof, you need just a repair here. DanielHoodRoofing.com, they're going to take good care of you as they have so many people, and you can read some of those testimonials, tons of them, at DanielHoodRoofing.com. Check that out today. All right, let's see what the final poll results were. That's happy. Let's see what I got to walk over here to see my little monitor. So 9% say it should have been better. So Josh Heupel has, so the option, it's a great season already. 91% say it is a great season. Even if you lose in the first round, you've done it. Okay, good enough. Thank you for playing along. You can keep on playing, but we just won't show it on the show. Okay, in a 16-team SEC, Tennessee has finished tied for second with Georgia. Now, you lost the tiebreaker because you lost to Georgia, but you're second, third in the SEC if you want to look at the tiebreaker thing. In a 16-team league, behind only Texas and Georgia. Only the fourth time since 2000 that Tennessee has won 10 games in a regular season. And one of those was Heupel, so he's done it twice now. The offense has looked disjointed at times. The defense has been terrific for most of the year. What grade do you give Josh Heupel and the Tennessee coaching staff for the work they did in this regular season? Just this regular season, August till now. Whoever jumps in, jumps in.
Okay, I'll be the negative guy. I give him a B+. I don't give him an A, even though I had them 8-4 and not making the playoffs before the season.
Two-game improvement, you're still not giving it an A?
I'm still not going to give him an A. I still the Arkansas game keeps them from getting an A. I don't care about going to Georgia and losing by 2 touchdowns. I mean, I think that was kind of baked in. I just think that the Arkansas egg laying takes away from the beating Alabama at home and beating Florida at home. So I'm going to give them a B+, a very good B+.
See, and I would give them an A just because of what you did after you lost at Arkansas. Your whole season could have fallen apart, and then you do beat Florida, you do beat Alabama, and we were just talking, John, about the inconsistent quarterback play, right?
Yeah.
We're grading the staff. We're not just grading Josh Heupel the way I read the question. The staff, I give them an A.
I'm watching Mike Stoll do math here. It's like, that's pretty good. With that or you're playing Sudoku.
Wordle. I got the word for the name. So,
Turtle.
So if you go by and you get, an A is 4 points. You know, I learned this to figure grade point averages so I knew what I had to do to be eligible, right? So you get a 4 for an A, a 3 for a B, a 2 for a C, 1 for, and so I went through and I think
graded each game.
Yeah, and
Or-
well, no, each coaching position, each
Okay.
position, right?
Gotcha.
And so the zeros kicking team, I think the offensive line's a C, our running backs A, defensive backs A. So by position, I got us a little. I thought it'd be higher than that, but they average out to just a little over B average.
You give special teams a 0 for the year?
An F,
A total F.
an F.
You see, he just hates special teams.
But you see,
One kick return. One
no,
return.
No. We
You hated
did it
Max
against Kentucky.
poor Gilbert.
Kentucky had the best kick returner, and what do they do? Let's kick it short right to him on the one and let him get a return on.
What about the
instead.
punter that keeps backing them
I
up?
forgot that Kentucky. That's true.
Gilbert.
You just don't like
that
kickers.
walk on
You just don't like kickers.
He hates kickers. Somewhere Greg Burke is going, oh, I remember this guy. Will, what kind of grade?
Listen, I have to give him an A. At this point, what was the goal? The goal was to get to the playoffs.
Exactly.
Right? You got into the playoffs. And that's all that mattered. In this new age, what you've really realized is what has been taken down a little bit is the SEC championship game, right? It's not as important. The importance is getting into the tournament, right? And in the first year of the tournament, getting into the tournament, that's an A, right? Doesn't matter how you did it, that's what you got to do. You got that done. You got it done with a redshirt freshman quarterback.
Yep.
You got it with some other positions kind of being out of whack.
As Jimmy said, you had to do it with different ways this year.
Yeah.
You've won ugly. You've shown that you're not just the high-flying guy that we thought you were in 2022.
Right.
That, well, if the offense scores 50, he's going to be great. If they don't, you're beat. That's no longer the case.
Right.
Now, I will say this in terms of their grade. I have to take this into account. They only played 3 teams with a winning record. So the schedule wasn't tough. They also have avoided, with the exception of Keenan Peely, and you've had some wide receivers who've been in and out. You had Nico, who was out for a half against Mississippi State, but you have not had to deal with major issues this year in terms of injuries, unless I'm thinking of something wrong. But I think that's been a plus for them. I'm still going to give it an A though, because I had them at 9-3, not in the playoff. So they were ahead of where I thought they were. I'll also say this: I'll give myself an F for complaining about schedules, because clearly Danny White has them in the schedule doesn't matter. So Kent State became the first team since 2019 to go 0-12 in a season. And you played them, and the committee doesn't care. However, could be the difference between a home game and a road game. So maybe I was too quick to apologize. Yeah, let's go with that. It's still going to cost you a home game. Schedule better. All right, when we come back.
My B was a plus.
Now,
Plus.
Everybody,
2 plus.
all those positive people on our poll, they all flipped off as soon as you said B+. Matter of fact, they flipped you off. All right. When we come back, would our VFLs feel better about entering the playoffs with that 2022 team, or do they like going in with the 2024 team? We'll let them tap out and bring somebody else in. That's next on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety System. It's time for an anniversary over there. They're celebrating their 25th year of being a partner to businesses and homeowners and families all across East Tennessee. Security systems, home automation, they do it all. Turn to Safety Systems. Give VFL J.J. Surlis a call. You know, he played with Sterling and Mike, so he's been around a lot longer than 25 years. But 25 years for Safety Systems, that's impressive, and I believe in them. You'll see their stickers. Anything I'm involved with, home, our new studio, believe in them completely. For best security and home automation, call J.J. Surlis and Safety Systems. Okay, the 2022 team, we'll take a look here at these two deals. 2022 team, you see their record was 10-2, regular season record 10-2, and you see this year 10-2. You had the blowout loss upset at South Carolina then, you got the closer upset loss at Arkansas now. It's funny, you talk to people and everybody's like, well, that 2022 team, I don't know if it was just because the scoring was fun. I don't know if it was because that one was the first one and this one's been kind of uglier this year. But I want to get the VFLs to tell me, and we'll start with Will Overstreet. Going into the playoff, if you could tap out and say, look, give me that 2022 team, one Hooker and Hyatt and that whole thing, what would you do? Would you rather be hitting this year's playoff with this year's 2024 Tennessee team or that 2022 team from a couple years ago? Will, what do you say?
2024 team. There's no doubt about it. And it's purely this. You have a defense and a defensive line, and that will travel and play better in a playoff situation or on the road, especially when you're going to talk about 3 weeks break in between this last game and your next game. I would much rather have a defense that I'm going in and being confident about than hoping my offense is still in rhythm and how long is it going to take in a game to get back into rhythm. So for me personally, absolutely no doubt, his 2024 team, I'd rather take that team into this next step than the 2022 team. Sterl. Now, you might differ on this. There's a little more offense in that 22 team.
A lot more offense in that Deuce team, but I'm going to agree with you, brother. I'm going with the rain cloud. I'm taking the 2024 team. I'm taking the 2024 team. And it's for almost the same reason. The defense is there every week. Every week they show up, and they make that play to turn the tide of the game. And the offense is getting better. Just imagine if the offense gets close to that 2022 offense during this playoff run, and we have that defense even getting better what they've been. Whoa.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Rain cloud, I can't believe it. I'm saying yes on that. But when you think about, more importantly, if we are on the road, we're going to be in a cold place, right? And so it's harder to generate points when it's cold, believe it or not, right? It's just different, especially when we're not used to it. I think as a defense, it becomes more of a, okay, we're going to have to control, we're going to have to run the ball. That's where it lines up for your defense well. So I really like this 24 team. There was some better athletes on the 22 team on a receiver and quarterback situation, but I think overall, top to bottom, I think we're better.
And they were old at quarterback and receiver also back in 22.
Yeah.
And I think you also, if you looked at that 24 team, there were some real weaknesses on that defense at linebacker. I mean, linebacker, we still have some weaknesses here, but they could get outrun very quickly by fast. You know, they did not have the speed that you need to have speed at. And so I think there was not as many athletes on that defense. So I also wonder in a game where you go, do they match up an offensive player against that linebacker core where they'd be able to take what they needed at any point in time? So I definitely think, John, just looking at this, I think people playing football, offense was great, but this team is built better to win on the road and have a chance in a playoff than that 22 team.
Yeah. I agree with you. Thanks, guys. That's interesting. I had a feeling you'd go in that direction, but it's just been, we hear so much about that 2022 team, and this team isn't the 2022 team. Well, now that they're both 10-2, and you look at it, one's more balanced than the other one, and I'll take the balanced team as well. As much fun as that offense was, I'd rather know that I've got some defense if I needed. All right, very good. When we come back, of the projected playoff teams, and we're going to take the brackets out of it, just of the other teams projected to be in there, imagining that Tennessee could play anyone, who would our guys want them to line up with? Who would you want to avoid? If you had to go on the road, which road games would you like to do? We'll talk that. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. Christmas is almost here, and you can make Games and Things your cleanup hitter. That's the place to finish, folks. Get a big house-changing gift with a poker table, a pool table, a foosball table, a shuffleboard table, a ping pong table, or a pub table and stools. Their stable of tables is the stuff of fables. Games and Things, because life should be fun, folks. OurGameRoom.com to learn more. But it's Christmas. Head to Games and Things. You will not be sorry. All right. We will use Heather Dinich's playoff projections for this exercise. There you see. And forget the that's just where they're located. Tennessee is 9 in her projections. There's no 9 up there. But let's forget that. Tennessee would be a 9, so they couldn't play a 3. Let's throw that out. I just want to know, of the teams on that list, maybe you play them first round, maybe you play them in a championship game. Who would you want to see? Who would you not want to see? So let's say I'm going to guess Oregon. No. Nope. Agreed. Everybody. No.
Yeah.
All right. Just Texas.
No.
Not yet.
Don't want to see Texas.
Yeah, not yet.
SMU.
Yeah.
Take my shot with SMU.
Yeah.
I would.
Okay. Boise State.
Absolutely.
Oh, I know Mike Stoll from Idaho.
long.
You've wanted that for years.
Yeah.
All right.
What color's their field?
Blue.
Penn State and
Yeah, I'll take
James
I'll
Franklin.
take- yeah.
I'll take them.
I would.
He
I've
beat
watched-
you when he was at Vandy.
I've watched
I
it.
think
They didn't have
a
Vanderbilt's
little
talent.
bit. I'm a little more cautious on the Penn State one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little more.
There are
cautious.
others I'd rather play before Penn State.
Yeah.
Wherever
Okay.
you played them, I guess. If we play them at home,
Yeah.
up there, it's a little bit different. Weather's going to be a factor. But I think I watched them play. They're not that great, right? I mean, they beat an Ohio. They barely lost to Ohio State, but we've seen Ohio State not really throttle people. I don't know what the Big Ten really is yet. I just don't know other than Oregon.
Tennessee also has the better kicker.
I don't know. I don't know what the SEC is. I've said that they're beating up on each other because it's a real good league. I watched Georgia and Georgia Tech. I don't know that it's a real good league.
Yeah.
It may be just a bunch of average teams.
Could
We're
be.
going to find out in the playoff how good the SEC is. But watching that Georgia Tech game, it's like, well, they're not in the SEC, and they're taking it to Georgia a little bit here.
Yep.
All right. We still don't want any Georgia, correct?
Nope.
No.
Ohio State.
Not yet.
Oh, with them reeling after the Michigan thing,
you
may
know
have,
they're
you may have people suspended.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's another fact.
I take Ohio State. I lived up there. I've been calling for this as a regular season series between these teams anyway. I would personally love it. I think Vol fans would love going up there. I think Buckeye fans would love coming down here. And the festivities around the game. The schools are very much similar in terms of all their traditions. I would love to see that one, and I think they're going to be reeling from Michigan.
I think it's going to be great, but I also could say they could be angry, playing hard, playing ready, being a lot better prepared than maybe they are after the Michigan game because they say, hey, we're going to earn ourselves back through a national championship game.
That's what they said way back at that '95 Citrus Bowl. The Vols beat them. All right, Indiana.
Oh, take it.
Let's play.
Please.
And twice on Sunday.
Miami.
Yeah, I would definitely take them. They are not – I just don't – look, they've got a good offense, but they'd be going against our strength. I don't think that offensive line is necessarily that great. I think Cam Ward would have to play out of his mind to be anywhere close to us. I think that's a game you would beat win pretty easily.
Arizona State, if they get in, that's her projection for the Big 12.
I'll take them.
Yes.
Now let me ask you this. Let's say Tennessee gets – oh, go ahead.
Forgot one, Notre Dame.
Yeah. Oh, I skipped it. That's right, Notre Dame.
I think that's the one I would not want to play early on.
They can't even beat Northern Illinois.
I think they're a very physical team that you would come out with a lot of I don't think you're going to come out of that game clean, and I think it would be a very tough game. And I also think they're playing their best football at the right time. So I think that would be actually a very difficult game. I would not want to choose. If you just give me all the lists, I think maybe they're the least. Them and Oregon, I'd be like, hey, put me off those. Okay. I would put them up there and go. I'll play them the second round or third round. I don't want to play them the first round.
I've watched them. I'm not that impressed with them. I mean, they gave away, or USC gave away that game to them. They've throttled some people lately, so they are playing better. I would say they're probably my fourth that I wouldn't want to play.
What about their kicking situation?
Well, who pays attention to that?
All right, now if you knew Tennessee has to go on the road, go on the road. So you can't say, well, I don't want to go on the road. You're on the road. So you have to pick one of these. And we're also going to throw out the fact that Oregon, they're going to be in a bowl game. They're not going to play a home game probably if they win the Big Ten. Throw that out. If you knew Tennessee was going to go on the road for a playoff game in December, just what would you like to see? Which of those teams would you like? I heard somebody over there say Arizona State. I think that would be cool because Tennessee never played Arizona State in their life, and you play in a desert. But I want to see Tennessee in a snowstorm.
Indiana.
I want to see Tennessee in the snow. Okay, Indiana's where you'd want to go?
Yes, because they don't have a big fan base either. I mean, stadium.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I think that helps as well.
Okay, well, that's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking what would be the best place for Tennessee to go and win. I'm talking about just you as a fan.
Oh, okay.
Take it out of it. Just where would you like to see Tennessee play?
Arizona State.
So
okay, I got Notre Dame for that one.
I got Notre Dame.
So I got Boise State. Just because I go back and then once Tennessee throttles them, I say, that's why I never even thought about this crap.
All right. Tennessee's been to Oregon. You're going to go to Texas because they're in the conference. SMU don't care. Boise, Mike would care. My eyes would bleed from looking at that blue field. At Penn State, I've never seen that in my lifetime. I'd kind of be interested in that. Notre Dame, of course. Georgia, nope. Ohio State, again, I think that'd be cool. At Miami. Tennessee played them in the old Orange Bowl and beat them in 2003, but they haven't played them at Hard Rock or Joe Robbie or whatever that thing's called now, Acrisure or whatever corporate name. Would you think Tennessee at Miami, would that interest anybody? Or,
We were there 2 years ago in the Citrus Bowl
or the
Orange Bowl.
I just don't know how big an atmosphere, even if Miami's in the playoffs, how good of an atmosphere does Miami bring?
It doesn't. I mean, you look at their home games.
They got no fans.
Yeah, tons
I get some pretty good weather, though. As a fan,
nice.
yeah.
It is nice.
Josh?
I'd go Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas. I know Texas is in the league. You're not going to see them for a few years because they're not playing next year either. So, the UT versus UT battle.
Okay, in a playoff game. Yeah, I really want to see in my lifetime Tennessee play in not flurries, real snow. And I'm not talking about, then hurt their chances. I don't care. We're just talking about what you want to see. I'd love to see that orange and white, as long as they don't wear smoky gray or black or some other, we're wearing pink and chartreuse crap. I want to see orange with some snow coming down. That would be cool. All right, when we come back, what does making the first ever 12-team playoff mean for this program and for Josh Heupel? They can take it either way. I'm going to let the guys tell you. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Pipe Wrench. Once again, cold weather, it's here. Be ready for it with a new hot water heater or HVAC unit from Pipe Wrench. You don't want to get stuck without one of those when the temperatures drop. Call for an inspection this week. Visit them online to learn more about the deals they're currently running, because they always have great deals at Pipe Wrench. I've used Pipe Wrench. I used them for a plumbing issue. They got there the same day, and they did everything they said they would do. It was perfect. Quick, easy. It's the way I like it. PipeWrench.com for drain cleaning, plumbing, heating, or cooling. All right, going to start with Chuck Cavaliers. We got the full crew out here. Chuck and Sterling, you're at the Bistro, so you're in Paris, France over there. I'll start with you guys. You can take this anywhere you want. What does making the first playoff mean, either for Tennessee, for Heupel, wherever? And you may think it's the first year, we don't know what it means. That's fine. You can say that. Chuck, in your opinion, what's it mean?
Here's what it means to me. It's not just that you set out in August to do this and you have achieved it. How many times do you get to do something that Tennessee football has never done before? And that's go to the playoffs, then maybe win a playoff game. That's how big it is.
Okay, a first.
It's huge to me. Once again, first. You never get a second chance to do the thing the first time. We win the first deal here. Hey, did we win the first BCS 98? I don't know, something like that.
There you go.
I'm just saying, you start bringing things together. So it's awesome to be the first to do whatever it is, and we are first in the playoffs.
Wow, Sunshine went with Rain Cloud earlier. I wonder if Rain Cloud's going to go with that since you were on that.
No. Listen, I look at it this way. It puts Tennessee back on the map. You've been preaching all the things you could be, and when you had the old structure, you still were a pretty good ways away because you had to get to the SEC championship and then you had to win. Now it's like, hey, we're in it, guys. We can win a national championship any year. And I think that's allowing this program to preach something and put a meaningful thing around it that says the reality is we can win a national championship here. I can tell recruits that and actually believable straight face. That's the first in a long time to say, hey, we are a national championship contending program because you're in the playoffs, you got a chance.
Mike?
I think it's huge for not only the football program, Josh Heupel, and from a recruiting perspective, but I think from a University of Tennessee perspective as well, because you've got baseball, you've got basketball, you've got football now to say we are the elite of the elite.
And so, they say it.
But
they market it that way, which is smart.
As they could, because you're there. So I think that's the great thing about it is for the whole university, it's a big boost.
All right.
Yeah, it means a lot in a lot of categories. I'll point to the validation of Tennessee football, to the idea of Tennessee football being back. How long have we had that conversation? Well, Tennessee is in the conversation of the best teams in college football.
You wandered in the desert for a number of years, and now you're relevant for the second time in 3 years. In late November, you're relevant. You got a shot. So I think that says a lot about where this program is now.
Agree. And that's where I was going to go. That if you'd had this system 2 years ago, now you took a bad spanking against South Carolina that may have knocked you out, but if it's the same committee thinking then that you got now, which is just, well, the record, 2 losses, they're in. If you'd had this 2 years, there's a good chance you'd have been in 2 of these things. Mm-hmm. And for Josh Heupel to have done that, considering what he inherited here, to have done it this quickly, to have done it in different ways, even in a year where most of us, I mean, this show, we don't just cheerlead here. We pick nits. We look at what's wrong. That's what we do. We've picked a lot of nits this year. There have been a lot of issues. So to get there this year, this one to me is more impressive than the 2022 thing because of the way they had to do it. So it means a lot. It means a lot to me to have you guys here. Thank you very much. And all you football guys are going to be invited back because as long as they're playing football, we'll have you here. Next week, though, we're going to start talking some basketball as well. We'll be here with all of the playoff breakdowns from that week. See you next week.